Hi everyone, and thank you for tuning into this Sprintax walkthrough for the 2021 tax filing season. My name is Anna Fitzpatrick and I am on the Sprintax team. And in today's video, I'm going to bring you through a Sprintax walkthrough of the Sprintax questionnaire and the steps in the process and how we can assist with your non-resident tax filing obligations. Some of you might have received communication from your school or institution with information around Sprintax and giving you access to Sprintax. If you have received this communication, be sure to follow the link and use any discount or access code that has been provided. If you haven't received such communication from your school or institution, you're still free to use the Sprintax system and set up an account. When you're on the login page, you'll either be able to log in if you've used us before, or if not, you can quickly and easily set up an account. And before you move into the questionnaire, we'll ask you to make sure that you have all of your information and relevant documentation to hand. So for example, you might be waiting for an income document, perhaps you're waiting for a 1042S form. We'll ask you to make sure that you have everything you need before you move into the questionnaire and before you start preparing your non-resident tax return. If you use Sprintax for the 2020 tax filing season to prepare your 2020 tax return, you'll be given the option to transfer your data from 2020 into 2021, or you'll also be given the option to start clean. So transferring the data from 2020 into 2021 will save you time as you move through the 2021 questionnaire, as a number of the questions will be populated from your 2020 data. Once you move into the questionnaire, the first step and very important step will be around residency determination. So we need to figure out if you are a resident or a non-resident for tax purposes. So at this step, we'll ask you residency-related questions about your presence in the US, entry and exit dates, your visa types, all of your visits, and we'll use that information to determine if you are a resident or a non-resident for tax purposes. If the system determines that you are a resident for tax purposes, we'll stop you at this point, we'll let you know, and we'll inform you that you won't be able to continue to use Sprintax as we're a non-resident provider, but we will be able to point you in the direction of TurboTax, who are our partner for resident taxes. We do also have a video going through the residency step on Sprintax on our YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out if you have further questions on it. We'll also need to gather some general details about you, such as your name, your social security number or your ITIN if applicable, and whether you had US income in 2021 or not. If you do not have a social security number or an ITIN, but if you do need to file a federal tax return, you will typically need to apply for an ITIN if that is the case. And if you do need assistance with applying for an ITIN, Sprintax can assist with preparing Form W7 for you. Sprintax will then ask you for details of your US address as well as your home address, and you'll also be required to provide details such as your passport details and a contact number. Then if you've received income during the tax year, we'll need that to gather that income information from you. So whether you had a W-2, a 1042S or a 1099 series document, or perhaps you had multiple income documents, we'll ask you what income documents you had, as well as the quantity of each, and then you'll be able to provide those details on the Sprintax system. The Sprintax system also has useful OCR or optical character recognition technology that will allow you to upload a copy of your income document, and then it'll be populated on the system for you, so hopefully saving you a little bit of time as you're moving through the questionnaire. You can also notice the support button there and the X character, that if you select that, you'll be given a choice to access our frequently asked questions, where a large quantity of questions will be answered there, or you'll also be able to speak to our live chat. So we do have 24/7 live chat available during tax filing season. And Sprintax can also assist with tax treaties, so the system will be able to figure out if you're eligible to claim a tax treaty, and it will be outlined then to you, and you'll have the choice of claiming that tax treaty if applicable. Sprintax will also give you the option to offset your expenses. As a non-resident, when it comes to expenses, there's not too many expenses that you'll be able to offset. But for example, if you had charitable contributions or qualified student loan interest, we may be able to assist with offsetting those expenses, and we'll ask you to provide details of that at this point. We'll also need details about your university or your college. You'll also be asked for details around your program director and also around your course or program. You'll also be asked for the name of your university, addresses, and things like that. The Sprintax system can also assist with state taxes. So the system will be able to figure out if you need to file a state tax return or not. If the system thinks you've triggered a state tax filing obligation, it'll start to ask some additional questions surrounding the state tax law in that state. And then if applicable, if you have triggered a state tax filing obligation, the system will outline that to you. And as you can see, this student has triggered a state tax filing obligation for New York. And if you've lived and worked in multiple states, you may have multiple state tax filing obligations. And again, the Sprintax system can figure that out for you. Then you'll reach the order breakdown, where we will give a summary of the services that are being provided to you. For example, in this case, the student has a federal tax return, which would also prepare Form 8843. They have a state tax return for New York, and they also have an ITIN application, which would be Form W7. At this point, if you have been provided an access code or a discount code for Sprintax by your college or your university or your institution, you can enter it and validate it here. So last tax season, we were super excited to announce e-filing on the federal tax side, and we're delighted that e-filing for federal tax returns is here again this tax season. If you're eligible to e-file your federal tax return, this option will be provided to you at this point. There are certain circumstances where certain individuals won't be eligible to e-file, and these are outlined in detail in our e-filing blog. If you're not eligible to e-file, don't worry, you will still be given a tax pack, which you can then follow the instructions, print it, sign it, and mail it to the IRS. Just to give you an example of what the tax pack might look like, it will give you detailed instructions on what to do and how to go about filing your tax returns, including the address that you need to send your tax return off to. On the state tax return side, these will still need to be mailed, as well as if you just need to file Form 8843 alone and you don't have a federal tax return, this will still need to be mailed. But again, you'll be given a tax pack with detailed instructions as well as your completed tax forms outlining that you will need to print, sign and mail them to the IRS or to the relevant state tax authorities. Lastly, just to touch on some other support we have in place that might be useful as we're moving through the tax filing season. We do have lots of educational tax videos on YouTube. We have a blog which has lots of content up there for tax awareness, so feel free to check that out. We also have our 24/7 live chat that I mentioned, and we do have lots of tax workshops and tax webinars that take place throughout the entire tax season, so keep an eye out for any communications sent out on them. And lastly, we do have a system that might be useful to some of you tuning into this video, which is Sprintax Forms. And Sprintax Forms is a system that can assist with your pre-employment tax documents. So the system, Sprintax Forms, can assist with residency determination, tax treaty eligibility, determining if you should be exempt from FICA taxes or not, as well as preparing any pre-employment tax documents that might be applicable to you, such as the W4, the W8N, or the 8233. And all of these documents and all of that information can help to make sure that you're taxed correctly on your income that you're receiving from your employer. So important to note that this is separate to any end of year tax filing that you might need to do. So the overview I went through of Sprintax Returns is around your non-resident tax filing obligations, whereas Sprintax Forms is a separate system that will assist with pre-employment tax documents. So just important to keep that difference in mind. But with that said, that is a whirlwind tour of the Sprintax Returns process and also some other support we offer on the Sprintax side. I hope everyone found it helpful, and we do have lots of additional videos on our YouTube channel going through non-resident tax information, as well as additional videos on the Sprintax process. So feel free to check them out as well. But thanks to everyone for tuning into this video. I hope you found it helpful, and best of luck with your tax filing obligations.